like to round out this segment with talking about your 2013 and 2014 teams. You guys played in 2 region finals. You remember about those years?
If I remember correctly, we were coming off of 2 years where we didn't win many games.
Yeah, those prior 2 years. We had a team prior to that. I think we had an A player starting. But those years before, I learned a great lesson from a guy named Mr. Bender down at Rosemont. And when Eastview opened, it took all of Rosemont's kids. And I think they had under contract, Apple Valley wasn't going to lose any of their kids or whatever. And I remember they had 2 or 3 years, 0 and 19 and 1 or whatever. And they were always happy. They were upbeat with their kids. They were positive and stuff like that. And I always drew from those 3 prior years to 2013 of just how you got to be with the kids. And then plus, I think we got some stuff out of those kids.
Well,
hard and developed.
In the years that we've coached, I had some coaching colleagues calling me and asking, well, how are you doing? Are you hanging in there? What do you mean? We had fun every day.
Yeah.
We thought we didn't win many ball games, but we thought we were getting, the kids were giving us everything they had, and those were 2 enjoyable years to coach.
Okay.
The winning wasn't there, but those were 2 fun years to coach because the kids were great.
Sure.
And I guess that brought to my attention that it's not about the bottom line.
Yeah.
These kids are high school students first, and sure the wins are nice, but these kids were giving everything they had, and it just wasn't enough sometime. And I'm sure they enjoyed their experience just as we enjoyed coaching them.
In 2012, we went to the region final. I think it was Eden Prairie and Chanhassen. And it was a real hot day. Remember that out of Chaska? And I remember Jeff saying, "Think we'll ever get back to this game again?" I said, "Yeah, in 2 years." Well,
Okay.
sure enough, it was 1 year.
Yeah.
2013. Yeah, it was it.
And you played Eden Prairie, I think, was it? Is that right?
We had beaten Shakopee in the first round. And then
Lakeville South, yeah.
And that was a real tight game. And then we got Eden Prairie.
What were we the 6th seed?
You guys were lower seeded.
6 or 7, yeah. And that just goes to show you that when you high school kids are playing in a 1-game season, playing a playoff time, anything can happen.
Yeah.
These are high school kids, and they're not professional athletes, and goofy things can happen, and usually do almost in every high school sports season.
We had a nucleus of kids that were in 2012 that were sophomores that played, and then the next year in 13, Tommy Gackey played, and then we had a point guard, Jake Bodway, who really blossomed and took hold and followed the team concept, and really was a tremendous player for us that year.
Maybe we only had 2 seniors on that.
Yeah.
2 seniors on our entire roster that year.
Okay. And then the next year, you played, who did you play?
Shakopee.
Shakopee at Apple Valley.
Yeah,
And
we had-
that game went right down to
Yeah.
down to the wire.
And we got a couple, because we only had 2 seniors on our team the prior year, we had quite a bit of experience coming back. Kids with some varsity minutes, so I think we just got better as the season went on. I think that first year we lost to Eden Prairie, I think we had a sub 500 season, I think, and ended up going to the section championship. And then the following year we had a better than average season.
15-11 or 17-10 or something like that. But, I mean, we were in the Lake Conference. I mean,
Right.
Tyus Jones at
Right.
Valley, and Lakeville North was loaded. And I mean, you were ready by the time you got to that tournament. And I remember our semifinal game that year against Kennedy, and they had beaten us twice on last-second shots, and we just blew them right out of the water.
Yeah.
I mean, we just took them right out to the woodshed and gave
Well, we had they pressed us the entire ball game, and I think we broke their pressure very easily, and we shot a high percentage because we were shooting layups, and they kept on getting down. They felt they had to keep on pressing, and that was just right to our advantage, I guess. And we shot quite a few free throws that game too. They ended up falling at the end. I think we shot 30 free throws. They shot 27 or something like that, though. Or it was pretty even, but a lot of free throws were shot that game as well, and we shot a pretty good percentage.
Okay.
But we played pretty well that night. Played pretty well. Afternoon, I guess it was. Shakopee game, they had some big kids. The big kids, and one of the kids just finished out his collegiate career down at St. John's. They had that Booker Copland. I think he's playing at Augsburg now, I think. Good shooter, good player, and they had a good solid team. And
Good point guard.
I think I think we were two evenly matched teams, and I think you flip a coin and see
It
what
was a good
happens.
game.
It was a
really
good game, and I had several coaching colleagues in attendance to watch the game and said that they'd said the same kind. That was just a really good high school basketball
Mm-hmm.
game. Two teams that played very well, and unfortunately, Shakopee came out on top. But then they went to the state tournament and realizing we didn't lose to a dog.
Yeah.
They went to the state tournament and played a very good game against Minneapolis. Against
No,
Hopkins. Hopkins, that was the kind of a controversial
Yeah,
game.
right.
But realizing we didn't lose to a dog. They were a pretty good team.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a group of kids that were well-rounded athletes. A lot of them played multiple sports and great relationships. Just a super bunch of guys, and they would do anything for each other. I remember they're so hardworking. Brian Marisco was one of our guards. I mean, on defensive end of the floor, if somebody missed their assignment, he was there making up for them. And we weren't a tremendous offensive team, but again, I would put them right up there with the 03 team as being incredibly smart and
team.
ability to defend on the defensive end of the floor. Yeah, they were very good.
Well, in your tenure, you've coached against a lot of really good players. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give you the team and the players you coached against. You give me what comes to mind. Apple Valley, Tyus Jones, Trey Jones, Gary Trent.
I just remember Tyus. I don't know if you played against Trey too much, did we?
He played against us. I think he was in the eighth grade.
Eighth grader, and Tyus began as an eighth grader as well.
Yeah.
But we prepared for Apple Valley. We did. We've always put a triangle and two in every year, just for anything, just for whether we use it or not, just so the kids. Well, three guys got to cover a lot of ground just to help their off-ball defense awareness. Well, we did a triangle two against Tyus, and got to the point where you put two guys on Tyus, and that's not the intent of that. But he just picked that apart. Doesn't matter what you do against him, and he could see the floor very, very well. And
I think even in the triangle too, what we did instead of chasing him, we chased Trent and
we did everything.
who was their other shooter? And we just had.
That-
But that I remember vividly. That was the first time we ever iced ball screens. So we just had the.
That wasn't
guy
too
on
successful either, though.
and face the sideline. Wow.
Nothing worked.
It was we.
He was a good ball player. He was a good ball player.
Sure.
And Trey is marvelous too.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, two of those guys are in the NBA, and another one might be in the NBA.
Yeah.
Lakeville North, J.P. McCurra, Nate Reavers, Tyler Flack, and then Tyler Wall.
What do you got to say, Jeff?
Well, J.P. McCurra, we go out and scout a lot. And my son was younger at the time, and he always asked me, Dad, are you going to scout night? Are you going to go watch Lakeville play? Because he wanted to watch J.P. play. Mm-hmm. And the things he could do with the basketball and passing and just things that he even attempt to do in a game, I'm sure would drive some coaches nuts. And I think John had could echo that. But he's just a talent,
Mm-hmm.
and a competitor. I think he's the kind of kid any coach would want on their team when the chips are down to make a play.
I go
Jimmy?
back to Apple Valley, and I just think about, you mentioned Gary Trent. So his senior year, they started Tyus himself. Who was the other really good shooter they had? Martins.
Oh, yeah.
The big.
Oh, the kid that went to Buffalo.
Bertram, and then they had that other.
They have a kid at Mankato State, or Minnesota State Mankato.
They had Kirksey, but who was the
Kirksey.
other kid even the year before when Tyus lost it his senior year? I can't remember. I think he was. Anyways, so they got probably one of the best teams. Right up there with some of those Hopkins teams or whatever Jefferson teams. I mean, Division I players all over the place. And they lose in the semifinals.
So, yeah.
High school kids.
That's all I'm going to
Yeah.
say.
High school kid.
Speaking of Hopkins, you played against a bunch of these guys. Chris Humphreys, Blake Hoffbarber, Royce White.
We didn't play against Royce.
Or maybe not Royce. He was later.
Had a couple other Division I players too. I think that we
Yeah.
played with Coleman and
Yeah, Coleman. Dan
some other
Coleman.
kids, and They always had so many different ways that they can beat you. A lot of talent on the floor, and Hoffarber is a fantastic shooter.
We had played against his brother, older brother Adam.
Older brother, older brother, yeah. The point guard, Blake was it? No,
No, Adam.
Adam, yeah.
Yeah. Humphreys he had that nasty edge to him and stuff too, and we had a few brawls in the final game with him, but our guys went right back at him. Lakeville North guys, John's always been so classy, and I remember when we first started coaching, even going down there and playing North, every game was a battle.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't have the size, but his kids worked their tails off, and they executed and stuff like that, and
Yeah, they're coming up on 8 in a row, 7 in a row. They've been to the state tournament.
yeah, I mean, he's, John's one of the best of the best, that's for sure. So,
Okay. Eastview, Joey King, and then going back a ways, a guy by the name of John Wagner.
and who is it? Is it Oberfeld?
They had Brian Oberfell, and King the same time, and King liked to drift on a 3-point line. I was okay with that. We didn't have a lot of size. We played him, but they had Oberfell was a big
Oberfeld.
He was a big kid. That John Wagner was a player though. That guard, he was a good player. Oh, he's a good athlete. And where did he go to play college?
Oh, he went to Augustana.
Augustana.
Yeah.
Remember that? There was
was-
good crowds out there, good
Yep.
games.
Yep.
Yeah.
We always have had good games with Eastview too. Always some battles out there. We had a pretty good string of games out at Eastview. I think the first time we ever played at Eastview, we were down 18 at halftime. And we walked in the locker room, their fans are yelling, "You guys suck, you guys suck," and I couldn't disagree with them. And then at halftime, we came back and we held them to 4 points in the second half. We held them to 4 points in the second half and won in overtime, I think it was, or something like that. And we've always had good games out there with their kids.
Okay. Minnetonka, the name I wrote down was Anthony Tucker, but I know they had some other guys that were really good that on that 08.
Their 08 team that won it.
Yeah, but you played against them in the region final.
Yeah, they had Anthony Tucker. They had point guard was Burns, and
Burns, yeah.
C.J. Erickson underneath was C.J. Erickson underneath he was Division I player too. He's a lefty, and I remember the 10 seconds that Cole came off the floor of that game. I think he scored 4 points. Right away. They went bang bang right into him. They had another shooter, Andrew Latsky, who played at St. John's. He was
Yeah.
a really-
Burns with the St. John's too, I think.
Yep. Yeah. Joey Reisinger was a guy off the bench, and they had another big kid, Taylor Nelson, who was a football player. No, they were tough.
Okay.
They were right in your face on the defensive end of the floor, and John Hedstrom was always very tactical, and they'd come out of a timeout and he'd have a little twist or something. He always did a really, really good job with his teams, I felt. That was a chess match, that game, with little tweaks and
Yeah.
stuff that we had to do. But no, that was a tremendous team.
Okay.
And of course, they were tremendous. They won the state title in 08.
Yeah. Shakopee had a player by the name of Eric Carlson, and then another guy, Stefan Mitchell. We remember out those guys.
Carlson was a prolific scorer. He probably still has their school scoring record out there, I think, maybe. We played them in the section semis up at Wayzata, and Cole guarded him. And I think the 3-point shot was a little bit too far for him, I think, maybe by just a foot. And so this Cole's presence changed a lot of his looks, and because he wasn't going to take that three. And I don't know how many points he had that game, but that kind of changed their preparation to play that game. Just having Cole matched up on him, and we didn't. I don't know if we started out that way or not. And I wasn't quite sure if he'd take Cole the bucket and draw fouls, and but as it was, Cole kept his feet and just had not block shot, just
I remember
change
that
his
game.
shot a little bit, and Cole did a very, very nice job and stayed out of foul trouble, and that was probably and Barnwell had a very good game that game too, as scoring game that. But Carlos was a pretty good player. Every time I saw him play that season, he was the was
Yeah,
a
he
person.
played at NDSU, I think.
Yep.
This is a guy you'd probably like to forget. Jake Sullivan, Tartan.
Just last season, was it last season?
Yeah.
We showed our kids that state tournament game. And I remember he was just a fantastic shooter, but we showed the kids that game. One of the kids made a comment that he never hits the rim. And he hit a bucket, but just clean, quiet shot, and not rattling out the rim. It just swish, 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 swish. And I think he spent an awful lot of time in the gym up there at Tartan shooting to hone his skills. But just a basketball junkie.
He didn't take a lot of bad shots, but I remember too when he
I don't
would
think he
get
had a
in the
bad
lane,
shot.
he was so good at drawing contact and then being able to hold his balance and get a good shot off and stuff. And he was
Really good.
really good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another guy that had a pretty good career, Egan, Luke Anderson.
You remember Luke?
I do. I think he started at Kennedy, I think.
He did,
Kennedy.
I think he did.
Pretty good scorer. And played at Mankato State.
Yeah, I think he's like their all-time scorer.
I think Luke was a very, very good shooter and was going to take enough shots to score his points, I think, as well.
Okay.
But I don't know if those Egan teams he played on, if he had a lot of help around him or not. I can't remember
There was
those.
a Sturmlinger or two with the
So he played with Sturmlinger, okay.
But I remember when we played them in 2000, it was one of our losses down there, and they kept running the double blocker with him flying off the screen. And I remember Matt Vollum saying, "Why don't we just switch it?" And so after the game, we decided that, and he had a field day off that. But
Okay.
yeah, he was a really good shooter off the catch.
Okay. I'm going to give you a bunch of Eden Prairie names here. Schaefer, Rogge, Whitman, Iverson.
You missed one too that I think that has always been kind of a crowd. There was a Grant that played out there,
Yeah.
and he just is a winner, I think, out there. What's his
Oh,
name?
one of Mike Grant's kids.
What was his name?
or Not Ryan.
Ryan
that played
Grant.
for the
Ryan
Gophers.
Grant. Yeah. Yeah, Ryan was a kid. I just thought there's a kid that he's going to find a way to beat you. I can't remember. He wasn't a prolific scorer, but he was a competitor, just an athlete, one of those kids that you want on the floor because he's going to make something happen. And Iverson, of course, was an unbelievable player, and he was on those teams that when we first started.
Yeah, he was strong. Oh man, he was
He's clever. Yep. It's not one of those kids that seem to be an adult playing with kids
No.
in the high school game, but.
Okay.
Whitman was one of the best pure shooters, I think, around this area for quite a long time. I think he was the NCAA leader.
Yeah.
Three-point.
Well, he went to the Sweet 16.
Yeah,
With
Cornell.
Cornell. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, he could get his own shot off. He had such amazing range. Grant Schaefer. I mean, I was such a big fan of his. I always thought he could have played Division I basketball if he wanted to. I mean, he'd go toe to toe with Tyus and those guys, and he could score if he needed to. But man, he could just dictate the show.
Yeah.
Tremendous floor leader. Who else did you have on there?
Well, anybody that I had John Bryan and Skip Schaefbauer were the last two guys.
but I mean, who are the Eden Prairie guys?
Oh no, Rogge.
Rogge's another he's a catch and shoot guy. Yeah, tremendous catch and shoot guy.
Is there any guys that I didn't mention that you would have said, oh, you should have mentioned?
Shamala, Shamala.
Oh,
We didn't coach against him though.
yeah.
We didn't play against him.
Spencer Tolleson.
Oh, Spencer. Yeah.
Well, you talk about our kids and the work ethic and how much they put into. That's what I noticed when I first came, how hard the kids work. I think Tolleson was like a sophomore or whatever, and it was Sikora's senior year, and Sikora went down and posted right in the middle of the lane and just took him right out and just sealed him right off. And Sikora got called for displacing him. Well, I think Tolleson was probably a good 20, 30 pounds more than Sikora was. Kind of got a kick out of that, but no, Spencer he was a beast in the middle. And
Yeah.